Hello everybody and welcome to the Event Industry News podcast with me, James Dixon, wishing you all a very good morning, afternoon or evening whenever or wherever you tune into today's podcast from. We are bringing the podcast to you today from an actual location. Rather than me sat, as I have done for the last few years, an upright piano in my living room in the great town of Barnsley with my laptop balanced atop the piano and a wireless mouse underneath and a microphone taped to the top of a brandy bottle. Absolutely, that's genuinely my week-to-week mic stand is a brandy bottle with the mic taped to the top of it. We're in a proper location today, and we're in that location thanks to the team at Stream 7. A bit of sort of historical context. 2025 marks the 15th anniversary of Event Industry News, and Event Industry News was born, conceived, and spent its formative years in the heart of the great city of Sheffield, in those little offices right next to Sheffield Hallam University, just off Arundel Gate, and that's where the podcast was kind of first born as well. I guess you could say that. So we've, to celebrate 15 years, come full circle back to the centre of Sheffield and to the HQ of Stream 7. It's been recorded from their base, and they are premium event live streaming, stunning visuals and immersive experiences. Stream 7 has been at the forefront of event broadcasting for over a decade. Its experienced team combines cutting-edge technology with industry expertise to generate worldwide reach and connect audiences with your event. If you want some more information on the team there, it's stream7.co.uk. And hopefully that gives everybody a nice bit of context as to why I'm sat round this nice table with a lovely branded TV behind me, some proper mic stands and actual guests that I can see. We're going to meet those guests now, and we've recorded a handful of podcasts from the Stream 7 base today, and I guess one thing, having done a couple already, is that they share a similar theme, which is there hasn't been a theme really. We're just having a conversation. We're going to meet our guests, find out what they do, and then see where that conversation leads. So let's begin to my left. We've got Nathan Angus. Nathan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
So I'm the managing director and co-founder of Wildfire Experience Agency. We are a full-service agency and supplier to the industry. We do everything from team building days to conferences to prop hire to incentive travel to award shows, Christmas parties, all sorts of different things. We're quite unique in that we own a majority of our own equipment. So I've got Hovercrafts, I've got 3 life-size lions, I've got power turn buggies, I've got 4 crystal domes, I've got lots of different things like that. But we got to know Stream 7 from, they have supported us on lots of fantastic events and working together on things like that.
Fabulous. And thank you very much for being here today. And thank you very much for saying that you own Hovercraft. I've noted that in capital letters on my iPad. There's today's opening talking point.
Just the 4 of them.
Yeah.
I've only got.
Just the 4 Hovercraft. Thanks for that, Nathan. Let's work our way around the table. Natalie Evans, welcome to the Event Industry News podcast from the Occasional Group. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what the Occasional Group does.
Yes. So I'm Natalie from the Occasional Group, and the Occasional Group is 2 agencies. So my role in the Occasional Group is people and culture manager, but we are all about people in the company, and that is what we provide. So we provide people to the events industry. So we provide lots of different experienced people down to your entry-level staff, but all of those staff are working temporarily in temporary locations for temporary events. We also provide additional staff to venues and things like that. So when venues have got a big event on and they can't cope with their own staffing, basically, we can provide additional people in for that.
Fundamental to the event industry, isn't it? Let's face it. Without temporary staff, the events industry couldn't and wouldn't exist.
Exactly, and it's a lot of very experienced people on our books, basically. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, welcome along today. Let's continue moving around the table. Darren Wayne, the Managing Director here at Stream 7. First of all, thank you very much for having us today and providing this sort of great facility to record. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I gave a little bit of a plug there at the start to Stream 7, but what you guys do here.
Yeah, so Darren Wayne, Managing Director here at Stream 7. So we are primarily an event broadcasting company. So we provide cameras, kit and crew to any event anywhere in the world, basically. We do everything from conferences to filming exhibitions to live medical surgery. We do everything and anything to do with connectivity and connecting your audience to your event, basically, wherever they are.
I'm noting that down as well. Live medical surgery.
Absolutely.
I said there was no topic, so I'm pleased there isn't. We've got hovercraft and live medical surgery so far. Temporary stuff. We're ticking all the boxes. And finally, a very warm welcome to the Event Industry News podcast to Alex Gardner. Alex, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you work for, what you do.
Okay, so my name's Alex Gardner. I am MD of Smile Business Support. For the purposes of today, because I do work with lots of different clients doing lots of different things, but for the purposes of today, it's event management. I do a lot of event management, and I also compare events and panel host events.
Excellent. And again, critical. Always need good hosts. That's what they tell me anyway. They can never find one, which is why I always get this gig.
You can ask me.
There you go. Lose my gig here. I said I was going to start with Hovercrafts, but I've got to. I can't pass this opportunity up to talk about hover. When and how did the need for a hovercraft come around at an event?
So years ago, we used to do stag parties and corporate events, and people would want to have a hovercraft experience, or we used to do stags where we'd sell multi-activity packages, so to do hovercrafts, rage buggies, quad bikes, stuff like that. And we had a site in Sheffield that we were doing. At one point, we had 150 stags every weekend. And then the council decided they didn't want any motorised happening in the city, so that stopped. I'm not bitter about it at all. And then we just use them for corporate. So we used to have more because we used to have motorised equipment that was just for the stags, because they would be a little bit more aggressive in the way that they drove it. And then you would have motorised equipment that was for corporates, things like that as well. But we'll do a multi-activity day where you'll get to learn how to drive a hovercraft and then do some axe throwing or crossbows or rage buggies or anything like that.
How do you provide temporary staff to that?
Well,
have you got any qualified axe throwers on the books?
To be honest, we used to have a really weird thing in our system, just because it was the original setup and we hadn't fully gone through and removed some bits. And we had, I think it was something silly like 70 fire eaters on our books. And we were like, we don't need to know that. But it was really interesting fact.
There's also data you can pull out.
Yeah. So because there's so many people on our books, that people do come from all walks of life. We employ doctors to go and just work on a wristband at an event because they want to get away from their job. So we've got lots of different people in the industry.
That's something never occurred to me, that people who might work for these sort of temporary event agencies might not necessarily just do it all the time as their main job.
Their full-time gigs.
Gigs as well, don't
you? So we meet a lot of really interesting people and people with really interesting jobs. And one of the things that we're really passionate about is welfare. So we do have a lot of people that come in because of that. So their normal job might be something to do with teaching or something to do with welfare in general, and then they're on the ground working for us, providing that customer service to people in the industry, which is great.
There's one theme that's run through. I'm not sure exactly when this particular episode is going to be published and whether or not this kind of going to go out chronologically as we've recorded them today at Stream 7. But if you listen to each of the episodes that we've recorded here today, you'll find that the common theme is this, I suppose, flexibility. People being multi-skilled who work in the event industry, and it's just kind of just dropped in our laps here on this particular episode that, from an event agency and staffing point of view, that you've got people with these skills, first aiders, doctors, people with a medical background. All of that's going to be useful, isn't it, when you're planning it, from a business point of view as well.
Yeah, and I think part of that, bringing all those different personalities together and those different skill sets, especially soft skills.
Yes.
Because you're providing a customer experience. It's not just hands to the pumps, literally.
Yeah.
You're providing that customer experience. And if your staff are providing, the staff that you provide are providing that experience, that's got to be another level of interest in your company, hasn't it?
And well, I'm going to put you on the spot here because you sat in front of cameras with all the staff sat behind it. But it's the role that Stream 7 do and production companies and sort of the production side of events. It might not be customer facing as such, but there is an interaction there, isn't there? And there's an interaction with other people, other contractors, other suppliers, the organisers themselves. So as good as it has to be to have skills to work in this industry, of being able to operate the equipment or set it up, you've got to have people skills as well, haven't you, fundamentally?
Absolutely. The team, we always say the team's the most critical part, because everyone can learn the equipment, everyone can go and study cameras and study equipment and learn that, but it's the team that really makes it. Without blowing our own trumpet too much, but we get so much good comments about our team, because that is, when you're on site, that's who you're working with. The end client is working with your team, and it's your team that's going to help you if you've got any problems, any issues. And everyone clubs together, I think, in events. Everyone's got the end goal of just making a really good event. And I think that's where the teamwork really, really shows through.
I certainly have been there, and I can think of one absolute. I'm not going to reference it because it kind of gives the game away a little bit, but being completely bamboozled once, an hour before doors, at a big award ceremony, by a technician who flatly refused to operate playback for the award stings.
Fantastic.
Because he wasn't. No, I'm a sound engineer.
Oh dear.
I'm not a DJ. Literally, that's what we said. 1 hour before doors, and bang. And I thought, where's the people skills there? You've got to have people who, I guess, go back to something can-do attitude.
Yeah, make it happen. Do you know, it's just occurred to me, just thinking of, I know we've not met properly, Nathan, but I've met Paul. And I've worked with you guys, obviously. But the first event that I ever compared, you guys were supporting me. And we'd not even met at that point. Because I was just thinking about that interaction with your people. Knowing the interaction I had with you guys as a company was you were really supportive. Obviously, I was quite nervous on my first event, which was about 7 years ago. And just knowing that we'd checked the sound, you'd gone through all the details with me, stuff that I hadn't necessarily dealt with before, was so important. And I've now working with you guys, and obviously we have a really good time doing our events. But knowing that they're there is just critical when you're, you know yourself, when you're on the stage and you know that they've got your back at all times.
Absolutely.
It's crucial.
Can I ask, has it changed your approach now? So you referenced that first ever event, you're thinking, you want to do all these checks and double checks, and is this okay and is that okay? Do you still go through that same process, but in a slightly different way? Because sometimes there's a risk, isn't there? The more you do things, you think, I don't need to check that, that's always fine.
Yeah, no, we do still do the same checks all the time, and particularly, not just with myself now, but with the people that I'm managing on the stage, because, we've got panels or people coming and going, and knowing that they've got head mics ready to go and on and off, as people are changing from one thing to another. It's really important that we've understood what that process is, who's going on and when, all the time.
But I think it's a change in the industry as well, isn't it? Because there used to be the old school sort of it's a bit outdated, but the view of like the AV tech is not going to talk to anybody, they're just going to sit on the desk.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk to them, then you'd need a separate event manager who would be like the go-between. Whereas like now, I think with the evolution of the industry in a way, a lot more people, even though they will have all the technical skills, and you guys are testament to that, and they'll then have the customer-facing skills as well. We did an event together. We did Kimberly Clark's 2 years in a row, didn't we? It was their AGM for big senior directors and everything like that. And we had 3 days worth of rehearsals, and they would come on and ask these questions. And it was my client, and I'd hired in Stream 7 to do it, and they were running it all. But they would ask me questions, go, Nathan, what's happening with this? Nathan, what's happening with this? And I will be honest, I didn't really know. But some of the guys, everybody from Stream 7, they just jumped on it straight away, you want this to be slightly smaller, you want this to be slightly bigger, we'll get the logo smaller, we'll do this. And just giving that running commentary. But also, in the old days, I've been doing this 29, 30 years, you'd sometimes be concerned that AV tech talking to your end client might be a little bit more abrupt, whereas now I think the evolution of with businesses like Stream 7 who have that customer focus, it actually means that you can trust anybody in the team to speak to the client direct, and it's actually better because you're getting the technical information as well.
Yeah, definitely.
From a business point of view, that's critical as well, isn't it? Because you're supplying staff, you know, and you wouldn't want to dare risk somebody going into an environment and thinking, are they right for it? But I also think potentially budgets played a big role in that, you know, where you might have been able to afford a dedicated stage manager, you know, and then you've got your sort of technicians there, you know, and they would act as a go-between, and that would be their skill set. Now, you know, with budgets or with events wanting to expand, you know, that you can't afford to have people in. People are the biggest cost, aren't they? So, you know, you've got to have people who are multi-skilled in doing that. And the processes thing is a funny one. You know, when you were saying about, you know, you go and going through that, and we see it a lot at the, you know, Event Tech Live is a show that Event Industry News has operated now for over a decade, and I've sort of seen firsthand people who've coming into, you know, comparing or chairing a panel for the first time, and it's great to see sometimes how people come in who are genuinely nervous, but they're asking all the right questions. One thing we said in another episode that we've recorded today is the stupidest question is the one that you don't ask. And I'm just wondering, you know, you said sort of 7 years ago was your first job like that. Do you find that the questions still come to you very easily when you're at
they do, because what I very quickly learned as a compere was not to make it about you, and my job is to be there to facilitate their experience. And I do quite often do award ceremonies, and I absolutely love that, because people doing great things. We just recently had what I call Sheffield's equivalent of Pride of Britain, which was the Sheffield Children's Hospital Awards, and the things that people do, I actually am getting a bit emotional just thinking about it. I honestly, it's incredible what people do to raise money, but facilitating that and making sure that they've been appreciated properly, that's what I'm there for. And bring the energy.
Bringing the energy. Well, that's the thing, you know. We've again, I've seen that. We've all been at our fair share, and you were Nathan alluding to something that Darren and his team does, which is, you know, asking questions and spotting stuff. And a lot of the time, regardless of how good the preparation has been and how detailed the prep is, until somebody says go and boom, the event is live, you don't spot stuff, do you, until the clock's ticking?
No, absolutely. It's as you can do as much prep as you can, but you know, with what we do, the biggest thing that we need in our industry and what we do especially is the internet and the connectivity, because we do so much live streaming to people, or we have remote callers where we might have someone presenting remotely and we're bringing them into a live show and stuff. And the internet is the most critical thing for us. We have lots of backup systems, we have redundancy systems and all sorts of things, but that is that's the thing that is always, I think, the thing that you can't rehearse, and until you hit go, and you know, it's the scariest part of what we do, shall we say.
Something I haven't asked this question to anybody that's been on a podcast today while we've been recording here, but can you actually go to an event as a punter anymore?
Oh no, it drives me up the wall. I'm just walking around looking at what people are doing and like what's their job. If somebody is kind of incognito, I feel like I usually spot them. So it's a real struggle.
Yeah. It's a weird one. I find myself going to gigs and going, that mic stand's not right. The guitarist is going to have to adjust that when he comes on stage, because he's much shorter than the roadie set. You know, and you see him go for his first backing vocal, and you say, "See, I told you." And it's a pain point, but it I don't know. It annoys, you know, people that I'm going to those things with. Like, would you just have a night off?
But people say the same, don't they? They'll always go, "Oh, well, if you weren't in the industry, you wouldn't think like that." But well, we are.
So, that's that.
And I went to Disney in April, Disney Paris in April, and my dad came with me, who's Paul, who we were talking about earlier. So he's been in the industry as long as I have, and we had to go and get some drinks. Well, we didn't have to go and get some drinks. We decided to go and get some drinks before the parade started.
We were forced behind our backs.
We needed a beer. And we were walking back, and they got this. It wasn't the actual parade. It was some school groups that were going through. And my dad was like, "Oh, is that the parade?" I'm like, "No, that's not the Disney parade." But he goes, "It's very badly organised, isn't it? If we did this and we did that," and I'm like, "Disney's one of the biggest firms in the world." And there's me and my dad from Sheffield going, "You know, if they organised it a little bit better." Make a bit more profit.
But again, I say sort of to that, why not? Why not go and find a door and go, literally?
Disney door.
Yeah. I bet you've all been there. You've knocked on some doors, haven't you, before?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's I think by seeing what other people do, but also analysing what we do as well. It's how you learn. It's how you progress. We always have production meetings after an event to say what went well, what didn't work well, and I think that's how you progress as a company and how you progress with the technology, because the technology is always changing with what we do. A camera that's the best one today, next month, next year, there'll be a different way of doing it, a new piece of kit, a new camera itself, and by using that and seeing what works well and what doesn't, that's how we progress.
Natalie, what's it like getting feedback on people? Because it's slightly different for your business, isn't it? Like Darren was just saying there, you get feedback on new equipment coming out, and maybe we could adapt this or do this slightly different with the hardware, but you're getting feedback on people.
Yeah, so sometimes that is difficult to get because not all clients want to give feedback, which can be difficult because feedback is clearly really important. But thankfully, touch wood, most of the feedback that we do get is good. And one of the biggest things that we have to drum into people is that we need the good feedback as much as we need if something went wrong. But one of the things that we pride ourselves on is if things go wrong, is investigating what went wrong and how we can do better next time rather than just writing off the situation.
Yeah. So are you suggesting there that actually you tend to... You have to encourage people to give good feedback because they'll kind of just after the event go, oh yeah, well everything was fine. We don't need to tell them that it was great, but they will come forward and say, this person was not so good.
This person leaned against a wall while I walked past, kind of thing, and we're like, what was happening at that particular point? And I think that is one of the difficult things with people is that sometimes they can be caught at the wrong time. You could have somebody that has just had a phone call that has gone off in their pocket, so they've gone to go and see what that is, and a director walks past and it's just the worst possible timing. But as long as we can then give context on that, because we've had that conversation with them rather than going, yep, they shouldn't have done that, because usually there's a reason. It's not just somebody presenting bad behaviour for the sake of presenting bad.
The kid at home is ill, or there's a family emergency. So there's 100 genuine reasons, isn't there, for a phone call? And like you said, it's so fast paced. The world of events that unless you see something with context, you don't know actually what's going on. Sometimes I've seen and any number of examples like that.
Nobody knows what's happening behind closed doors or anything like that, do they? But I've had it the opposite way around, where my wife's rung me 4 times in a row, and so I've gone right, I need to go and check what this is.
This is important.
This could be important. Is anything wrong with my door or anything like that? And then she just done it by accident in the pocket.
Can I just add though to that, just about the experience and talking about the processes and covering the bases, that's one thing, and that you can always rely on Stream 7 and yourselves. You've always been there, and what I haven't told you as well is I used to do events with you at Aberdale Sports Club back in the day. Back in the day.
I remember that.
But what I love about and that I haven't worked with you, but I'm sure this is the case as well, is that it's not just the reacting and the basics, it's the fact you're also, the added value of working with Stream 7 is that, they look at ways to improve it. So I might go with this and this, thinking I've nailed it, and they'll go, well, actually, have you thought about this as well? And that is really important. Just giving that added value, just that extra thought process to make it special. I mean, I did an event with you guys in London last December, and you did a site visit with me, and the things that you were coming up with, I'm like, well, yeah, just rein it in a minute. It was brilliant. We had such a laugh just having the site visit and thinking of ideas, and that in itself. And unfortunately, we couldn't do them all, but it was great to have that input. And I know from yourselves as well, Nathan, I used to have the same experience with you at Aberdale. Yeah. What can we do? I've got this business that wants to do this and this, and you would always give that added value, and I think that's really important in events.
Added value is something that I've spoken about before to people about the events industry and how it doesn't compare to any other industry. Like, you won't get a plumber turn up and put your bathroom in, and then out the goodness of their heart say, oh, well, I'll fix that kitchen tap as well.
That's exactly right.
I want to change this. There'll be a catch to it. They're not coming forward and proactively offering to do that. If you ask them, they'll say yes, but it's going to cost you another 150 quid and the parts, you know, and I can come back next month and do it for you.
You kind of accept there's going to be a cost if there's going to be something, and you can always, like, you know, team lead, look, cut it out if you can't or whatever. But the thing is, and all right, yes, it's upselling, of course it's upselling, but it's just that added value of all of you are going to be providing that event together and that experience together. So why not smash it?
Can it be difficult to convey that on a? I'm looking at you again, but on the temporary staff basis, you know.
Well, one of the things that we do is we ask for feedback from our staff as well, but we ask for it on a two-part basis, because we ask for it on us and the client that they've worked with, so that if they've got any like suggestions to our processes, which do come through sometimes, and we make tweaks. We're very much a growing company, so we change things and adapt things to fit like the people on the ground, but then also we get feedback from the staff that have worked the events to then give back to the event organisers, which can sometimes be very very telling about certain bits that they wouldn't have known about, because you've got so much planning to do for an event.
Yeah.
Like one specific area might have been a bit of a back thing,
taking a back seat.
And the staff member that's been working in that area spots like lots of different things that could be improved next year. And when they come back and they've seen that those things have actually happened, that's invaluable to them.
Yeah.
So it shows that they've been listened to, and
it's important to value that everybody at every level of an event within that sort of the hierarchy has a valid input or could have a valid, you know, opinion or idea. I've had it numerous occasions with you know temporary staff, you know, that often come in, and maybe, you know, a theatre at a trade show, that there'll be, you know, you often have temporary staff at the entranceway scanning badges or assisting with stuff like that, and they just come up with great little ideas. It might be something really simple, so if we put that over there and put that over there, it'll improve the flow of people coming in and out. Which, going back to what I was saying, sometimes you don't realise things until the event goes live. You plan it to be one thing, and you've got to be adaptable enough to change it and take on those opinions, and every opinion is valid.
I think what's interesting, I think with events, everyone seems to be on a great goal to just make it really work and the best. I don't think you get that in many other industries. I think everyone, you know, whether, like you say, it's from like the, you know, the temporary staff all the way to the you know, the event directors and everything. I feel that everyone just wants to make it the best they can. I think that's why everyone helps each other as well. You know, there's always, traditionally in technologies, there's always been like camaraderie between the departments. You know, the sound department would be like, oh, we're waiting for the lighting guys, they're taking forever and stuff. But it's one of those that everyone does join together, you know, and it went to deliver that perfect show. And I think that's what I love about events.
It's the passion, isn't it? Like, it's supposed to be one of the most stressful industries in the world, but then it's the passion.
I'm only 20.
I'm 15. You still get lots of people wanting to go into the industry because it's that experience, and you know, looking at things moving forward for the industry as well. You look at what happened in COVID, and how many people fought back and came back and diversified and did different things because they were like, no, I'm not going to leave this industry. I love it. I'm going to do it. And you know, we owned business, my father and I and my brother, but we often joke, oh, we could sell it and we could go and do something else and not work as much. And I'm like, what would I do? I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't doing events. When my daughter's in a drama club, so shout out to Verve Academy that she goes to. Every time they have a show on, I provide all the props for it. I'll turn up at 6 a.m. to set the props up. I'm not getting paid. Like, they get about £2,000 worth of props, and it covers the fees for her to go to this drama. She's only 6 years old, so I don't think it's that expensive. But you're still like, it's got to be the best. Oh, you're doing Beauty and the Beast. You've got to have this prop. You've got to have that prop. And I think it's the passion that people have in the industry. They need to make sure that, even if it means using somebody else and not using your own stuff, you know they're going to do a better job.
It does feed into. We mentioned earlier about going to an event. Can you go to an event just as a punter and look at it, you know, completely for what it is, or do you find? I find as well if we have a house party, if we have a barbecue in the summer, do you know what I mean? One little Sonos speaker outside is not going to cut it. I'm down my unit at 8 o'clock in the morning loading PA up, and there's full PA systems rigged up and lights, and I think one New Year's Eve I projection mapped onto the ceiling of our extension just to have. I can't just invite people around and stick YouTube on or Spotify playlist. You know what I mean? It's really. Do you find that as well?
When we had our housewarming,
a 6-year-old birthday parties and there's hovercraft.
Oh well, my daughter's birthday parties are pretty epic. I am wrapped around her little finger. So she had a wicked one, and we had a 6-foot chair. We had all these backdrops. We had Princess Come. We've had Frozen. We've had Beauty and the Beast. So we'll just hire a church hall or something like that, and then I'll just bring all the props in and stuff. And I was like, there's going to be quite a few props. We didn't have as much time, so I even got some of my staff to come and help set it up as well. I got my head of ops to come and help me, and I was like, I'll pay for your drinks on a night out if you come and help me set it up. And there was like I don't know, a 9-meter backdrop, inflatables, and she has all sorts. But
did you find yourself that, Alex, go full event mode? You're going out for dinner with people, and suddenly you're at the head of the table chairing the conversation.
Well, some would say yes. I would say no. Of course not. But I when I go out into restaurants, particularly because I've worked in hospitality for a long time on and off, and mainly now actually advising. But it's the same with restaurants as it is with events, isn't it? You've got that same thing where you're watching and going, oh, where are we doing with that? What are they doing? That's late. Chef's annoyed. You sat on the pass. It's drying out.
It's steam coming out of their steam's coming out of their ears. That whole sort of event life flowing into your day-to-day life is a thing, isn't it? I find that with a lot of people who work in the events industry that they don't really have an off switch. Some people finish their job at 5 o'clock, turn the computer off, walk out the door, get in the car, and they go. I bet it doesn't happen, does it?
No, there's no off switch in this job, but we do value well-being for our staff and for us. But it's quite difficult to walk away from your laptop sometimes when you know that there's things there that need to be done, and especially when it's information that staff want from you. We want to give them as much information because it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The more information people have got, the better they can be at their job. And like you said, we can plan for all eventualities and then stuff will change on site. But if we've not given them information in the beginning, then they're going in blind. The more information they've got, the more adaptable they can be when they get there.
You seem to be a very caring business. It must be quite a USP in your...
Yeah, so me and Josh, so Josh is the director of the company, have both worked in the industry for years. So I met Josh first, I believe, in Glastonbury in 2012. So we found a picture the other day and it was a bit of a blast from the past. And we've worked in different industries. We've worked on the ground, all over the UK, and we've saw what not to do, and how not to treat your staff, and how we don't want to be treated. So then we've put that into this company to be we want to give people the best start into the industry, because I know a lot of people that have worked 1 or 2 shifts for specific companies or just specific roles, and they've genuinely hated it and they've never come back. But one of our things is there's so many different roles in the industry. You might absolutely love bar and hate stewarding, or the other way around. So we encourage people to do more and go and try things, and always looking after yourself is the key thing. So we've got working minimums, so you can't work 7 days in a row in our company. So if you're working lots of different events for us, you have to have a day off, and we go as far as trying to discourage people from working with other companies in that day off, because burnout is real. Especially with temporary event staff, if they are just working for us, going to another company, going through all of the different events that exist, really, really excited about it, and then they crash. That crash lasts a long time, and that affects
because of that attitude that you have then to the staff that are on your books. in some respects, I guess you want to be working and working with staff who are open to that attitude and to open to the idea of their own well-being.
Yeah.
If you've got people who are that desperate that they want to go off and work with another agency for those 2 days before they come back to you to fill their diary, they might be going to go for 28 days straight. If they've got no understanding of what well-being is, then arguably that you might not want them actually working for you. I'm not suggesting you could go and get rid of those people, but actually it must, in some respects, it acts as sort of a natural filter.
And we do a lot of education on it as well. And we've had staff that have told us they're not working outside of the thing, and they are, and then they come to us with the realization of you were right, I shouldn't have done that. And it's always a case of right, fresh start, let's move on and don't do that again, kind of thing. So as long as they've not done anything to genuinely detriment and harm other people because they were so tired or so overworked, we've known people to have kind of a different personality when they're so stressed, and you can have someone say, oh, so and so was a bit rude to me, and we're like, really, that person? Then you dig into it a bit, and it's a case of maybe they were overworking because bills have just gone up and that sort of stuff, and you've got to have a lot of empathy to work in this job as well.
And not just a well-being understanding, but an understanding that, if you're absolutely shattered and you're, helping to control the flow of people in and out of a campsite at a festival, one mistake there could be critical. And that's the same in any sort of point. If you're absolutely shattered, it's easy to start making mistakes, isn't it? And starting tripping up on things, or certain tasks that should take 5 minutes are taking an hour. You've really got to know when to actually say stop.
We have to watch that with you guys as well, don't you? Because you have all the setup the night before, the setup in the morning, checking everything. Then you've got it all to break down in the evening. We have it to watch.
Yeah,
I think it's just making sure you do manage people's times. I think it's getting more and more tricky nowadays because, gone is a luxury of having a hotel room and a venue space the day before to do a full day setup. I think everyone's trying to get more and more events in as they can, which, is understandable, but it does mean, you've got crews working through the night to set up, and then, it's then having a separate crew the following day to maybe operate the show so people aren't tired, and it does become more balancing that, but also managing the client's budgets as well.
Yeah, that's a big problem as well. Because you've got so many people who are lower on budget this year because of national insurance increase and different things.
Of course.
So then the client might say, well, actually, I've only got this much budget. And then you're stuck in a situation of staff welfare, staff tiredness, actual trying to make profit and making sure that you're keeping staff employed anyway. So it's always a balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's where kindness comes in a lot as well, because obviously we need the money to pay the staff, but being as kind as possible to everyone that you interact with on an event just has so much of a ripple effect, because anyone that is rude in an event environment, that if somebody shouts at somebody, then that's just ruined their day. They might then go and have that kind of attitude with a customer because they've just been shouted at by someone that's walked past and they weren't doing something, or they hadn't done something quick enough. So kindness is key, and it's one of the things that we try to drum into all of our staff is.
You can see how passionate you are about that though, and how it obviously rings true in your company and looking after people and caring for them. And that's really good, because sometimes you'll get some staff from other agencies and stuff like that, and they'll be on the back of 28 days straight or something like that, and you can tell that they're just absolutely shattered. And with freelancers and temporary staff, our industry would just be dead without them. We wouldn't be able to. We have some days where we need 70 members of staff. And then the next day we'll need 4. So so you need to get these people in. But I think that's where responsibility comes on the people as well who are hiring them in, to have the same ethos as you and say, right, these are the breaks you're going to get. Are you happy with that? This is our company ethos. This is what we do. For us, one of our tagline is, we make it fun, we do it better. So we want everybody to be smiling all the time. And they might go to different events and they might be told, don't talk to clients, don't do this, don't do that. So I think there's got to be a responsibility on, as fantastic as what you're doing for your staff, but we need to follow that through as well with the temporary staff and everything else.
And it makes sense now why your people and culture manager, because how often do you sort of read in the news about a business and it had a toxic culture within the business,
too many times.
Too many times, don't you? You hear about toxic cultures in sport, in business, you read it on the news, and to actually have somebody with the word culture in their job title, I presume that it's there because you're trying to promote a healthy and positive culture in your own business, which then feeds through.
And it's basically it's HR, but HR has got a bad rep, like across all industries. It is improving. I'm part of the CIPD, so it is improving. But culture it's the core of the company. Like, if your people aren't happy, then the product that they're putting out isn't going to be happiness, and our staff are putting out customer service.
You think about the term HR, no, human resources.
Yeah.
You think about what a resource is. What a resource is water, gas, electric. You straight away you're putting people into the category of being
vital.
Something. That it's like a utility.
Yeah.
But a vital one, though.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. But if you take a minute to think about it, I think it's refreshing in some respects to hear that rather than calling it HR, it's called something else. Culture, people.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Skills.
Because the ramifications of getting the culture wrong goes all the way through.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the end result is generally an unhappy customer. Yeah. Somebody's going to get annoyed along the line, aren't they?
I can think straight. I've got one company in my head, and it's chaos at the top. It's a father and son that manage the company. It's not Nathan. It's not Nathan and Paul. But no. I can think of one company, and that they get on really well with each other, but they clash. They're constantly arguing with each other, and it's kind of a toxic battle at the top of the organisation. And so many times I've taken a step back and gone, look at everybody in your team now. People crashing around, arguing with each other, fighting to get a job done. And then when I see a company that does another company that does exactly what they do, a competitor, and it's harmonious, people working well together.
We had a situation where we needed to get a new head of operations and a new head of sales. And I hired, and we were both qualified for the job, hired my two best mates. And it became a situation at work where they thought that if they would do it, everybody else thought that I would take the side of my two best mates as opposed to do as head of finance and head of projects. And they were having these SLT meetings, and I wasn't part of them as MD. And then I said, I'll get involved in them. And then I could see that my two mates weren't doing what was right for the business, and both of them ended up leaving and not working for us and don't work for us anymore. But you could even see with the people below them, because the guy who was head of sales was best man. I've been on my second marriage, best man both times. But the culture change in the business that had was because people thought, oh, well, he's best mates with Nathan. Nathan's going to take his side, not going to take our side.
Yeah.
It changed, obviously, when I sacked him. But you've got to, whenever you're making those decisions at the top of the business, you've got to think about everybody all the way down. And I think those people were qualified to do the job, but the implication that you wouldn't necessarily see on hiring them because you knew they were qualified to do the job and they had the skill set, but it was just because of the closeness, which, bearing in mind, our company is family owned, so it's me, my dad and my brother who own it. Excuse me, but my mum also works there, runs finance and stuff like that. But I don't think there's ever any question on the Angus side because we've been there for years and we've always worked all the hours in the days anyway and stuff like that to prove our dedication. Whereas as we were a growing company, I think sometimes some people think, oh, is it jobs for employees or is it that stuff?
It is one of the hardest things to manage when it comes to the culture element of that, because we definitely have it in our company because we're so friendly with our staff. We do have some newer staff that will come in and just assume that because we're friendly with like on-site leads that they're our friends, and it's like they are, but also they're not. Like at the end of the day, it's the job that is being done is the important thing. So if somebody has done something wrong and they're reported, it gets investigated and it goes through all of the same processes that anything would, regardless of that relationship that we've got with them. And I think that can be something that is hard to prove because obviously we're not going to start publicising our disciplinaries or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it is one of the hardest bits of the outside culture when people do look in and they look and they're like, oh, well, you're obviously giving jobs to people that are your friends, but we employ people from all over the UK. We go to universities and try to pull people from event management courses to join our books and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're always recruiting new people. And we've got a team leader working an event today, and it's actually only her second event with us, but she shone really well at an event before. The team leader said how great she was. She did an extra interview and done all of our training so that she could then team lead at this event that she's just come in. So like the opportunities are there, but people would look on the outside and be like, well, you're obviously going to give that role to the two people that you know the most. And it's not the case, but it is a difficult one to try and get out to everyone with, because you can say it as much as you want, but it's that kind of thing.
Meritocracy element, isn't there? Going back to sort of the wider industry and why we're kind of sat around the table today having a conversation about the events industry. It's you know, from a meritocracy point of view, people can work their way up, can't they? They can come in as a junior in any company, or you know, be stewarding an event as a through the occasion as an occasional group member of temporary staff, and then go, actually, this might be for me, and work their way up. There's a great pathway there, isn't there, and opportunities for people who want to embrace and learn.
There is, and I just think it's going back to what we were saying about soft skills as well earlier. They stand out, and we don't talk about it enough. No. You know, processes, like you were saying, equipment can be taught, processes can be taught, soft skills and what people, you know, and the emphasis that they put on those soft skills and the customer experience and the looking after and the managing of the people around them. It's so important.
Yeah.
I've got two kids. I've got George and Jess, and they're both in hospitality. They've had it drummed into since they were little. And, you know, I'm always proud when I see them getting a TripAdvisor or a personal one, because it's those soft skills that make you stand out, and we're always looking for. And I bet that young lady who's gone straight onto that team leader post after 2 shifts, she's got a fantastic personality. She'll be really engaging, really smiley, really happy. And everybody around her.
You can almost list sort of the attributes.
You can feel it, can't you? She'll be giving off an energy. And people will be drawn to her because she'll be really energetic, enthusiastic, but listening.
The soft skills are so much more important now as well when you're doing live events and you're dealing with the public or clients or whatever it might be, because there's such a wide variety. I was talking about this the other day, and I was saying, like 20 years ago, if you were told you've got to go on a team building event, you would have to go on that team building event. You wouldn't turn around and go, actually, I don't feel like it's inclusive to me, I'm not going to do it. Whereas with different generations now, some generations got more confidence and will say, if I don't feel included, I'm not going to go to it. There's different inclusivity that we've got to look at. There's different mental health that we're more aware of. So actually, it's not just dealing with your own staff that you've got to look at these soft skills and how you approach these things. It's also looking at when you're dealing with your client and making sure that they feel comfortable all the time. So when they're actually coming to an event, you've got to look after if there's any mental health, if there's any disability, if there's any inclusivity that you need to look at. So the actual job of putting on an event is much bigger and requires more soft skills than it would have 20 years ago when somebody would just put on an event.
On inclusivity, we're doing more and more now where we're having separate rooms at an event and we're live streaming into these different rooms so people can have a separate space away from the main event but still being included and
interested, and
actually
go and get a coffee, check some emails or something, but still dive in.
But there's a quiet area. There's we started streaming into nursing rooms and things like that, so people can still be part of the event and watch it, but you know there's these separate spaces.
Mums can be with daughters or babies.
Exactly.
People with any neurodiverse issues have got a quiet space.
Quiet space, You know, and you're still involved in the event because we can stream into all these different locations. But it does allow for that inclusivity.
And it's, if I could just drop some, I'm mindful of time, and we'll start wrapping things up. But just talking about people and soft skills, I had a really great experience about 6 weeks ago at an awards event.
Good.
And it was an awards event for young people, and I was producing it, and I was kind of sat there, you know, the sort of front of house tech setup, and they booked some live entertainment for during dinner. And in keeping with the theme that it was an awards for young people, they booked some young performers. And this young chap turned up called Jake E.B. I'm going to give him a name check. Jacob Edwards Brown, 17 years old. And they said, oh yeah, he does singing with backing tracks. And he emailed me his backing tracks in advance. Really polite email. Hello, introduce himself. Please don't touch my backing tracks. I've numbered them in order. I'll come and introduce myself on the day. And I said, oh, thanks very much. Do you need a sound check? He says, no, I'll be fine. It's just a microphone and backing tracks, so as long as I can hear myself. So I thought, well, straight away I'm thinking, well, this kid's clued up. You know, not demanding a sound check at 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I'm trying to run tech rehearsal and stuff like that. He walked in, introduced himself, was polite, was really personable. Didn't get in the way though, didn't sort of want babysitting the whole time. Said, oh, sit over here, tell me when you're ready. Got on stage, opened his voice, sang brilliantly.
Nice.
He didn't need to do a thing with the tech, you know, didn't have to push a fader up or adjust anything on his mic. He was happy. He came off stage and went, that sounded great. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure working with you. Handed his microphone back and walked off, and I thought, I'm recommending him.
Yes, of course you
I'm
are.
recommending him.
Yeah.
He was 17 years old and had as much professionalism as I've seen with any sort of live entertainer. That
What was his name again? Let's give him another shout.
Jake Edwards Brown in Barnsley. He goes under the name Jake E.B.
Right.
Young vocalist, and for that type of event, it's exactly what you want. Because we've all been there, high pressure, a lot of moving parts, a lot of stuff happening. What you don't want is a pretentious entertainer turning up who wants a 1 hour sound check, endless tweaks to what they're doing. Oh, I want to change the list of songs that I'm doing. Can I swap stuff in and out? He was everything that sort of in that context that you would want it to be. And it's a great example. He's got the skills of singing. He had great backing tracks and everything, but it's those soft skills that make him stand out. He's probably as good as any other singer out there. But when you have an experience like that, I bet you've all been there. We've gone, well, they were easy to work with. Let's book them again.
And that's what you want, isn't it? You want people that are easy to work with. Like, it just makes everything go a lot more smooth.
Absolutely. Everybody on board. I think that's a nice way of wrapping up today's episode. Nice positive way to it. Well, it's all been positive, and for that I need to thank my guest today on the podcast, Nathan Angus from Wildfire Experience Agency. Thanks very much for joining us today. Natalie Evans from the Occasional Group, Darren Wayne from our friends here at Stream 7 who've hosted us today, and Alex Gardner, Smile Business Support. Thank you to all four of you for joining the podcast today and having a chat around the table in this great location. As I said, stream7.co.uk is the website to go to find out more about what those guys can offer and bring to your own event. And before we really sort of put a full stop at the end of today's episode, a couple of mentions for what we're doing over at Event Industry News. You may be listening to today's podcast via your podcast platform. Thank you very much if you've done that and you listen to us regularly, but please do make sure that you go over to eventindustrynews.com, where you can check out video versions of all of our podcasts, and you can also check out the A to Z supplier directory. If you work in the events industry and you're looking for a supplier, a service, a product, anything like that, the chances are you will find it listed within the A to Z supplier directory on eventindustrynews.com, where you can also find lots of news, special features, all the annual supplements that the team there put out. You may have started your journey there today. If you have done, thank you very much for tuning in. Get over to your podcast platform and make sure that you're subscribed as well. That's everything from me. Thanks again to my guests. Thanks to the team at Stream 7, and we'll see you on the next episode of the podcast. Thanks, everybody.